Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to talk about our home renovation loan and how we got to the number that we did with our renovation company. I also want to go over a little bit about choosing a renovation company and some of the pitfalls that go along with that. Hey, good girl. When we were first looking into getting a house, we went to the bank. We hadn't picked a house yet. We hadn't looked at any. I'd seen a bunch online, so I knew kind of the price range. We went to a fairly local bank. They looked at both my wife and I's income. Since my income is all U.S. based and my wife's income is all Japanese based, the bank thought it would be easier just to go with my wife's income, and so they based the pre-approval loan on her income only. So when we were doing the pre-approval process, one of the first things we did was pick an amount for how much we wanted to spend. When we were initially looking for a renovation company, we found a local company in Kanazawa that we contacted before we even bought the house, but we had found the house at that time. So we contacted the renovation company and we asked them, kind of to look over the house. We brought it to them, mind you. What? And we asked them to kind of give us an estimate that we could take to the bank. Now, we hadn't spoken to anybody else, so we didn't really have an idea for what a house renovation would cost us. But we had a rough idea of how much we wanted to spend and what the general renovation costs for this size of house would be. So when we went with this first company to look at the house, it was just under the assumption that they were going to give us an estimate for what they thought, and then we would take it from there, go to the bank, do our thing, yada yada. However, when the renovation company came to the house, we came with the owners as well, and the owner brought his own lawyer, maybe agent is a better word. The person who he was going to sell the house through, who's going to verify all the legal documents. So I guess an agent. But when the renovation company started looking around and everything, one of the first things they started talking to the owner about was who was going to get the fee for selling the house. And of course I don't speak Japanese, so I had no idea this was going on for maybe a half an hour into the conversation. But once I was caught up to speed and my wife translated some stuff for me, I was pretty pissed, and I didn't see any reason for them to start doing that. So basically we told them that we're going to look elsewhere. We're going to go with someone else. Because obviously we had found the house without them, and we were going to buy the house without them. So there was no need for them to stick their nose into this part of the process. I'm not going to work with you if you start doing that stuff. So yeah, it was an experience. So we were more careful finding somebody after that. So after all that demo work was well underway and probably half the house was torn apart, we decided and committed on a renovation company. A local builder who previously built my wife's parents' house. Being the picky American that I am, I made a lot of unusual requests up front, all via my wife of course, but we were very clear on our goals of saving money in any way possible. And I made sure that they were okay with me being in the house pretty much every day doing stuff with the carpenters. I don't know that there are a lot of companies in Japan or America that would be willing to do that, so we were really happy when they agreed. So before we could get the loan for our renovation, we had to have our renovation company put together an estimate that we could take to the bank. At first, we told the company everything that we wanted to get done, minus the things that we knew would be too expensive for the renovation, and just had them put together the list based on what they thought. Our intended renovation loan for the house was 20 million yen. That's what we got pre-approved for. So we wanted to see, compared to that goal price, what the renovation company was going to come back to us. And that 20 million that we got pre-approved for, we weren't planning to spend that entirely on the renovation company. We were intending to keep about 300,000 yen of that to do a lot of fixture buying ourselves, tools, furniture, just things for the house that we didn't want to go through them for. So really, we were only hoping to spend about 17 million on the renovation company. But even after doing the renovation ourselves, taking care of all the trash and leaving off a lot of stuff, the initial estimate for the renovation came in at 27 million. This was obviously way beyond our budget by 10 million. But with that number, we started to tweak things to try to get that down to where we wanted. One thing that helped reduce costs for our renovation was doing the floor plans ourselves as well, so we didn't have to pay a designer to kind of figure out how our house is going to be laid out for us. So on days, I would usually come in, do the demolition, and then at night I would go home and I would often tinker on the computer and come up with different plans for layouts that we liked. I don't know how much a renovation company would have charged for this, but I've heard it's a lot depending on the company, and I just thought it would be fun to do myself. So I did it. I found a free program online called Sweet Home 3D, which is kind of a rudimentary architectural program, but it allows you to kind of play with the layout in a simple way and see how the house would flow. There's even a 3D aspect to it. You could do a virtual walkthrough if you wanted to. Once we had that layout, we still had to take that to them where they could make a professional layout for the architects. Obviously, I'm not a professional architect, so what I gave them was basically just boxes. Miyawaki Home also told us that by doing the demolition ourselves, we saved about 2 million yen. So I felt like that was definitely worth my time and energy. After we got that initial estimate for the house loan, we decided to change up the layout a little bit and kind of simplify things for the architects so there wouldn't be so much labor involved and they wouldn't have to use so much materials. Which is fine. It opened things up. It gave us more space than we had originally planned for in a lot of rooms. And so it kind of made things easier overall. So after the first estimate came in, it took us about a month to go through it and kind of whittle it down to the ideal 17 million that we had intended to pay for them. They were pretty helpful in helping us find alternative materials that we could get to make things cheaper for us. Another thing that they suggested was we had asked them to stain and sand all of the exposed beams and joists throughout the house, but considering our budget and everything, they suggested that I do that work, which I was fine with. So I went through and sanded and stained. Everything that's a dark brown color was done by either me or Momi. Once we were able to get our renovation estimate down to the 17 million range that we had intended to pay for the renovation company and took that to the bank, we then had to make a list of everything that we planned to buy for the house that made up the rest of that loan. the extra 3 million yen that we were going to use personally for stuff like fixtures and furniture and whatever else. So we've had the official estimate from the renovation company, and then our estimate that we submitted together to the bank to get that loan. Then that's what the bank used actually to give us the separate renovation loan on top of our house loan that we'd already got from them. And so we used the same people and the same banks, so the process was pretty easy. Once we went back into the bank, they had all of our paperwork ready and they knew what we were doing, so it was just a matter of submitting the official documents. Once we submitted everything to the bank, we submitted it in mid-November, and everything was finalized by the end of December that year, and our renovation company began work in January.
The bank was also pretty cool about letting us defer our payments while the renovation was taking place, so we didn't have to pay right away once we got the loan. We had I think it was 7 months until the renovation company finished their work that our first payment was due. So I hope all of that has been helpful and informative. I don't know how typical our situation was and the process to get our home loans was, but if this is something you're interested in, then I definitely recommend just going to the bank first and just inquiring about the process and all the requirements that they have, and maybe try a few banks out. I think the procedures for each bank vary, so what may work at one may not work at another, and you won't know that until you actually go and talk to them. But thanks for watching today. If you have any other questions, please leave them below in the comments, and I'll see you next time.